To another session with Asset Debt Recovery, and I'm your humble host, Benson Okezie-Wosu, Esquire. And with me here is Mr. Olatunde Akerele. Alright, now, remember that last week we started a new theme with right mindset as the topic, and we started with a very basic topic, save or invest, where I gave you, a little insight on what savings and investing connotes. Now, this is a sort of part 2 to that session where we would elaborate more on tips on how to save or invest, properly or wisely. Thus the topic, the right mindset, tips on how to save or invest wisely. Now, for the purpose of this session, we decided to invite an expert, if I may say, in the field of saving and investing, in the person of Mr. Olatunde Akerele, who is a highly accomplished regional sales manager at Sunedge Global Venture, with a wealth experience in the financial markets, including stocks, indices, currency pairs in the crypto markets. And he is very well renowned and exceptional in managing and aiding individuals in, employing the proper savings and requisite investing strategies. Given the economic situation, and his experience is born out of both the good, the bad, and the ugly. So we are not just here to propel the wonderful and the so-called unhindered or on a line of investing or challenge or saving without challenges. We are here to show you both the good side of it and the bad side of it. Just make it a balanced discussion. Thus the need of employing or begging. We literally begged him to come and share us with his experience and expertise in the field of investing and saving. Mr. Okay, thank you so much.
I'm really happy to meet you.
Thank you. All right, so let's just dive right in.
Okay.
Now, there are two concepts here.
Okay.
Saving and investing.
Yeah.
Both of which involve money, both of which involve setting funds aside.
Yeah.
So, can you give a sort of, what is that major factor that separates investing from saving?
Okay.
And in addition, saving and investing, which precedes each other? Are both concepts independent? Are they similar? No, can you clarify on that concept a little bit for us?
Okay. Firstly, I would say, let me pick it from the second question.
Oh, sure.
Saving and investment, they work in line together.
Okay.
But there is a foundation, and the foundation is saving. And the main reason why is because I do not want to go theoretically.
Oh, sure.
I want to be practical. I'll use Nigeria as a case of study. Okay, so as an average man in Nigeria, it's advisable that you save before you invest, because saving helps you to build capacity for risk management.
Okay.
Reason is because when you save, there's a low risk involved because you end up getting your money back. But the risk in quote is you might end up getting the money being devalued.
Okay.
In the case of Nigeria. That's why I'm using Nigeria as a case of study.
Sure.
But when you save, you are keeping the money for something. Okay. You have a vision, okay, I'm keeping this money, I'm segmenting this money for a particular purpose. So if you don't save, you won't ever think of, okay, how can I expand this money? So if you don't have something at hand, and you say you want to expand, the question is, what are you expanding? And I think that answers the second question. Then the first question, if I might recall, you asked about the basics. If I'm not sure, if you can help me.
Okay, the first question was what's the nexus? I think you've even answered it with this your second question because, okay.
What I would say is there is a thin line, but I'll give an example. As a common being, or a salary earner, an employee, you earn 100,000 naira as the basics. And out of that 100,000 naira, with the economic situation of Nigeria, you're spending 80% of it,
if not more.
or let's say 90%. Now, that 10%, which you are meant to set aside for savings, you still end up going back to it because even the 90% is not sufficient. But indirectly, we always encourage people that you don't actually need to look at the factor of today. Consider tomorrow. And just keep something for that dry season, so that you can actually have something to bounce on. If not 100%, but you can still be able to say, yes, I have something.
Okay. Now, thank you for that part of, don't just think of today, but think of tomorrow. For those of us that believe in you only live once, YOLO, and life now one.
Yeah.
I mean, those are, I know, mindsets that helps you relieve yourself of thinking so much. But at the same time, I think there's always that need to be conscious of tomorrow, of any pending need. All right. So another question is this: now, when it comes to saving, just like you said, someone earning 100,000 naira having to use 90% for your needs, and still going back to that 10%. Now, what place does cutting back on expenses play in terms of your investing? And then, in addition to that, how can one cut down his or her expenses without necessarily reducing the quality of life, without necessarily depriving yourself of so much? Because a lot is at stake when it comes to spending. It takes a lot, it takes discipline, it takes a whole lot. So how can one comfortably cut back expenses without necessarily reducing or having to compromise the quality of life?
Okay, I would just answer the second question with an example. Most of us, we grew up with some habits. I would say, as a Nigerian, I have this mentality. When I grew up, I saw my parents using, if I'm correct, key soap to wash. Then from there, there's a graduation of using detergent, good mama, and thereabout. But the point there is, most of us get this same upbringing, and we go back and we utilize that in our day-to-day activities. I'll use myself as an example. I think when I started earning money, I used to list out what I need to buy. And I get to realize that 90% of what I buy is what I inherited. The knowledge I inherited from my parents. Okay, I need to buy this particular soap. It's being sold for 200 naira. And there's another alternative of that soap in that same supermarket that is sold for 150. But that will still serve me to do that thing I need to do. But because I'm used to that brand, being trained up to use that brand, I tend to, let me live to that standard. And not knowing that my parents that trained me to be like that, have financial stability to accommodate those. So indirectly what I'm saying is, we spend money on things that we're not meant to spend money on. I would also dive to, we need to actually be conscious of it. You want to make a decision concerning your life, how to be ahead of the economy. It's a conscious effort. Like you said the other time, discipline. It's a conscious effort. Now,
a whole lot of
you actually need to go back to, I did it back then. I went back to my bank statement. And I got to realize that 30% of my money went into data. I was just spending money on unnecessary things, unnecessary wants.
Thank you. That's the time.
Wants. Things I can do without, but I just felt like,
since the money is there, why not just...
So, then I got to realize that you have to, that's when I sat down and I told myself, I can't continue to live like this. If I can have, 10,000 naira, 20,000 naira, 50,000 naira, 100,000 naira somewhere, it also boosts your morale when you know you have savings. Something
waiting for you to...
The way you handle issues will be different because you know that at least you have something you can fall back on. So that time I had to take the bull by the horn, then I had to strategize, bring it out. Now, another thing we want allow us to look at is, for savings, people see it as, separating part of your finances. Yeah. But what people don't know is that it's separating part of your income. And income means that you can have streams of income. So I can be an employee and also run a side business, which will also yield profit for me. That profit is also an income, which I'm meant to save from. So, which means that if I have an employee collecting 100,000 naira, I have another stream of business that I run myself, and I have maybe my brother or my sister that sends me monthly constant fee into my account. And it's my responsibility to remove portions out of those streams of income and save. So what I do is I use the formula of 50, 30, 20.
50, 30, please.
Okay. Let's say total, I look at my income. I have people that send me money on a constant basis. The income is like, the money is constant. I know that every 27th, this guy was something was enter. So I place it in the way that I look at all the incomes, then 50% goes to my need.
Okay.
After calculating all the income for the month, 50% of that money goes to my need. Things I cannot do without. Feeding, my house rent, clothing, when it comes to transportation. So 50% of that money, I discovered that even after doing the calculation, it's more than 100,000 I earn. So maybe I earn maybe close to 180 or 190. Okay, fine. 50% of it goes to this. Then the remaining 50% is split into two. 30% goes for wants.
Outings.
Yeah.
Friends,
so okay, I need to buy pizza. Okay. I assign it. It's not I don't do it, but I just put portions for it. This month, 5,000 for pizza. You spend that 5,000, that's all.
It.
So it's not enough for me to now ration it. Okay, am I buying the smaller size so that I can spread it through the month, so I can feel like at least I'm eating something. So that 30% is for wants. Then the 20% is for savings. Because 50 previously plus 30, that's 80. That 20% goes to savings. And what I do back then, I actually beat myself at the hand when I started. What I do is, at the end of the month, I would send the money to my account. So I got to realize that when the alert comes in, I'm looking at the alert like this. I'm not sending this month, I'll send next month. So I'll turn it to next month. But I got to realize that the world has come to made things easier for us.
Okay.
So I joined, I joined Cowrywise then. I joined some other fintech companies that do automations. So the moment it comes in,
they take it.
They remove it. So I might cry. This money I project. But at the long run, I got to discover that it pays. Because by the time I look back and I discovered that, something. And it boosts this self-esteem even in the midst of your friends. And emergency fund, I call some emergency fund.
That's what it is. Reserve, emergency fund.
Reserve it for something. But I want us to also understand something in the place of Nigeria.
Okay.
Our Naira is wonderful. I won't say it's not good, but it's wonderful. And the 10,000 Naira you keep today is not the same 10,000 Naira you'll be meeting tomorrow. Because of some factors. So it's advisable that if you are saving, you can possibly save to be ahead by saving in other currencies.
Okay. True.
So not in the Naira now, so you can actually save and convert it to other currencies. Let it be there. So most of these fintech companies do that. They remove the Naira equivalent from your account, convert it to other currencies. So
that's very nice. So please, even if you did not take anything you said here, let me point out these things. You see that 50, 30, 50%, 30% and 20% division of your resources. Please adhere to that. I do something similar, but then I haven't put it in a mathematical way. I don't know maths. I've always said it on this session. But that's actually a very nice way to go. 50% for your needs. House rent, transportation, feeding. 30% for your wants. Data is a want. Pizza is a want. Ice cream is a want. 20% to your savings. And then, if you realize it, for those of us who have actually taken the time to actually do invest, you do, I'm sure, I do experiment this. Sometimes I set, like, maybe, let's say I have 200,000 naira. On a normal day, that's what I'm meant to spend for the month, 200,000 naira. But I intentionally limit myself to 120. And it turns out that some of the things I could actually do without 200,000, I could comfortably still do them with the 120. And the difference may obviously be in terms of like quantity, but that quality is still there. If you're the type of person that takes, let's say, 5 bottles of alcohol, and maybe due to your cutting expenses, you end up with 2, 3, it still gives you some form of satisfaction. I mean, you're drinking, maybe that's what you want, and you're getting it. And then, another point I also want us to take note is in terms of the fintech facilities. Mind you, nobody is employing us here to advertise anything.
No, I'm not.
Let that caveat be known.
Yeah.
But especially the automated removal of this money. And then I think Piggyverse has this lock app.
Yeah, you lock it.
And a lot of people can attest to its importance. So don't forget to take home these two. All right, so now we've talked to an extent in terms of savings. Now let's move to the investment aspect.
Okay.
Please, let me just put it plain. How can one determine a proper investment platform? Now, I don't want you to give any example. Just how can it be determined? Because we see a lot of, and then in terms of how to, and in addition to how to determine it, okay, I'll ask this next question after. Just answer, how can one pick out a proper investment platform?
Okay, first is you need to know what you want to dazzle into, information. You need to get the right information. Because you're putting in your money. All necessary information you need to get them correctly. And in that information, you tend to see if you have the capacity to go into that particular investment or not. I've spoken to a lot of people. Some will say, okay, what do you advise I put my money into? I'll tell them, okay, for now, you can go into stocks. For now, you can go into cryptocurrencies. But I come to realize that most of them don't really know their capacity in that place of investment. Because every investment has its own risk on its own.
True.
So the risk you get when you invest in the crypto world is different from the risk you get in the stock market, please. So first thing you need to know that, okay, this is the capacity that I have. The capacity I'm talking about is the money.
Thank you for that clarification.
It's the money. Okay, how much am I having? How much do I want to pull out? Okay, I have 200,000, I want to pull out 100,000. What can this 100,000 give to me? Where can I put it and it will give me a geometrical result? Not arithmetical. Geometric. It has to skyrocket.
Times 2, times more.
So you have to now make research. Okay, if I put 100,000 in this, then you start doing calculations. Because it is your money, you can't say you deny yourself the fact of getting the right thing done. You need to get it right so that you won't later bite the tongue and say, I know.
Okay. So, the capacity. That word capacity has been given, the word capacity simply means what you are able to.
That's it.
So, in terms of what you are saying now, you are referring to the money, the amount of money you are able to bring out. Now, also take note of what he said. You need to get the proper information in any investment platform you require. Yeah. It's not just enough that someone approaches you, gives you a broadcast of how many paragraphs, and tells you to invest, and that serves as sufficient information for you to invest in. It's not possible. There's that need for you to take the necessary steps, visit the requisite websites. Thank God we all have our phones now. Yeah. Sit down. That data you're using to do Instagram, TikTok, whatever. Information is literally in the palm of your hands. Yeah. Take it and research. Now, the next question I was going to ask before this was, let me even personalize it. I personally have fallen several victims of Ponzi schemes.
Okay.
And then I usually called it investments. Now, for the sake of being accused of defamation or whatever, I will not mention the names that I have in mind here.
Okay.
But there are names here. But for the purpose of professionalism and formality, I will withhold these names. However, please can you enlighten us on how one can actually draw that line between Ponzi schemes and investment platforms? Because I think this is something that we really need to pay strict attention to.
Okay, for Ponzi scheme, you come to realize that there's this promise of you getting what is not possible.
Oh, okay.
I would say most business go through they use what they call multi-level marketing. I won't deny that. But most Ponzi schemes, what they do is, when you make research well about them, you discover that they don't have a valid structure. Your money is going in to do what? That's the questions you ask yourself. I'm dropping my money to do what? What are you using my money for? And most of the Ponzi schemes I've seen so far, you bring yours to pay this. When this bring his or hers, is to pay this. So there's no commodity or service that they're actually providing to the public. They are just trying to play the game around to make sure that everybody is satisfied. But at the long run, you tend to see that when people bring more, then they can't be able to control the system anymore. So Ponzi scheme, what we need to know about Ponzi scheme is they give outrageous promises.
Outrageous return on investment.
Things that you know that you can't
50%
naturally
in
do.
2 weeks.
They tell you 50% in 2 weeks, 30% within 1 week. I actually fell victim of one early last year. And not that I didn't benefit. I did.
That's the funny thing.
I did benefit.
For a short period, you get back, the thing makes you so excited that, okay, let's go.
I really did enjoy it. But when it went off, that was when it dawned on me that you called yourself a man that understands the financial market. And you got duped with this amount of money. Because I was carried away with the returns that was coming. But not knowing that there was no product. The flyers were coming in, the multi-level marketing display, everything was going on. But there was no product. But when you see investments that are genuine, they don't hide. You see them around. You can verify. I know of I think I know of 2 or 3 investments that you can do. I've seen some fintech companies, they tell you lock in your savings and they give you 15%, 13%. You are saving with them, but they tell you lock it down and we give you percentage. That's also investment because you are sending that money an errand to make more money. But the point there is...
nice one, nice definition. Investing means sending your money on errand to make more money. Okay.
That's just it.
Please copyright Mr. Olatunde. I should not see this description anywhere. That's his own description.
So instead of you employing someone to say, okay, I'm doing this business, you can actually send your money on errand. So you have this money, okay, money go and make more money for me. But you have to send that money to the right source to make more money. So we've seen real estate agents that they'll tell you, bring this amount and we give you this particular returns. But you need to also know how long are these people been in the market? Can you verify? Do they have physical offices?
Are they registered?
Are they registered?
Even though registration is not a prerequisite to perpetuity, but at least it's a step in the
basic information. Then most of us get this anxiety that, okay, I've gotten about this opportunity, I need to dazzle into it. You need to also calm that nerves and do the due diligence. When you get about opportunities like that, you don't just run into it. You take your time and see if you can give yourself a space of a week or two. I want to check about this investment opportunity for 2 weeks. You can be lucky that it might be a Ponzi scheme. That within that 2 weeks, you get to see informations that are beyond what you can't see within 1 day when you have dropped your money. But because you've dropped your money already, you're already in the business, so you don't have anything to do. So due diligence will go far when it comes to investment. Then for Ponzi scheme, I would just say it's just they don't have structure. That's just the way I put it. You can actually see it, but most of us are blind behind the returns and incentives we get. We can actually see it, that this thing is a red flag. But we just still doesn't it.
Hope you've had it. Red flags is not just in relationship. Even in business, there are red flags that you need to point out. Because if we look at it, most of the proper investment platforms offer sometimes 5% per annum.
Yeah.
And at some point, some of them are not even able to meet it. So you can now imagine a platform that just came out yesterday telling you 35%, 40% in 25 days. As in, what exactly is happening? So, okay, thanks for that clarification. Now, let's come back to the basic or the average Nigerian, sorry to say.
Okay.
How can one, because the truth is, I want to believe that, or rather I believe that one of the reasons why many people can't really, or can't invest is not necessarily because they don't want to, but because the resources to do so, or the face value, is not there. So how can one, without much, dabble into investing with I can't say little or no money. I can't say no money because you need money to invest. So how can one, with little money, invest? How can one with little money send his money on an errand to return, give any form of return or whatsoever?
Yeah, well, no amount is small when it comes to investment. But there are some investments that you dazzle into with the little amount, but you might not get the encouraging returns. That's just it. You can't compare someone that dropped ₦1 million for an investment that gives 5% to someone that drops 10,000 naira for an investment that gives 5%. Because the 5% of that 10,000 naira would not really look too big to that person. I'm dropping 10,000 naira. I expect much. So what I advise people to do is first save. Have that foundational structure. Have enough. Just make sure that that money is saved. Have enough savings that you can now bring out of that pool to invest. Because if you don't build the structure of savings, now I would just add this to it. Let me just divert a bit. Something dawned on me that if you save, let's say 30,000 in your bank account, you are seeing that money every day. Okay, fine, this is good, I have money. And you take that 30,000 naira to go and invest. The investment is not something you can pull money out. Sure. You have to lock it down for a period of time. So the point there is, when you remove the whole 30,000 naira to invest, and there is an emergency, how do you
set it?
How do you now start running back to the investment? No, it's not done. So the most logic there is that have enough savings. Build capacity to have enough savings.
For a period of time.
It can be
very important.
It can be for a year. It can be for
years.
2 to 3. It can be long term. Have that vision that, okay, this is what I want to hit this year. In the next 12 months, I want to hit this amount. Break it down into months. Or possibly if you are a weekly earner, break it down into a week. Then shoot the shot and start making the decision. Then by the time it is 12 months, you discover that, okay, if you are not even meeting up 100%, you meet up to 80% or 90%. It's an advantage for the next coming year. And something you do concurrently for, if I say 2 weeks or 3 weeks, that's for people that are doing weekly income. But for monthly, something you do concurrently for 6 months, it gets into your system. You're already aware of it. So even though when your salary or your income comes in and there's a deduction, you really feel it because you've already witnessed those things. So what I would just say is, when you have small, make that small big by continuing the habit. Then in the process of continuing the habit, you scout for opportunities. And there's this saying in the Bible that says, watch and pray. You don't pray alone, but you watch. So while you are doing the work, you watch and scout. You will see investments around, opportunity investments that are around, that are very, very legit. And in those processes, while you are also building that capacity to go into that investment, you make research
on the
investment. And by the time you are going in, you know that, okay, I'm dropping this there because I have a reserve.
Okay. So to just emphasize on one major point he made here, in terms of saving enough. The truth is, there's a friend of mine who always says this, that invest an amount of money that you can see, that you will be okay letting go. I mean, nobody wants to lose money. But invest an amount of money that you can easily let go in case anything happens. Because that's the major issue with investing. The risk of losing that investment is always there. So, and that's why, I mean, the only way you can invest something you can forgo is by having enough at home. And that's the thing. Savings is something that, even investing, both of them require a period of time.
Yeah.
They both do. So that need of, you know, setting aside a certain amount of your money on a weekly, monthly, daily, whatever basis, and like I've said, and as he has reiterated, requires discipline. Now, I'm very happy. There was something you said here which I mentioned during the last session. I'm very happy because I think I pointed out in the last session that your savings, or where you can set aside money from, is not limited to your salary.
No, not at all.
With your business, that you can decide that, okay, your salary would be your spending income.
Yeah.
Now your business would be your, saving income. And I'm happy you reiterated that. I'm sure you watched the session and you obviously didn't see him yet. But the singular reason that an expert reiterated the point I made last week. Hey, God, is this the sign?
You're a professional in the field already.
We are just trying to. All right, so I think we've done enough in terms of clarifications with savings and investing, but I'll just leave the ball to you.
Okay.
Just tell us, just tell us what you, given the Nigerian situation now, pick any aspect of the economy you desire. Just enlighten or just give us tips on how one can maintain a proper savings structure, and if necessary, or if need be, or if doable, how one can properly invest. And that will be all for the day.
Okay. Looking at Nigeria's situation,
I'm emphatic on this Nigerian situation because we are all feeling it. This is nothing about the poor feeling the rich. We are all feeling it. So just give us little insights on what you think we should know